$23 million. That's what one ransomware attack cost a hospital chain in Florida. Not the ransom itself, the operational cost of 3 weeks running on paper charts because the entire EHR was encrypted. Patients couldn't be admitted. Surgeries got rescheduled. Emergency rooms diverted ambulances to other hospitals. The attackers never read a single record. They never exfiltrated patient data. They didn't violate confidentiality at all. What they violated was availability. And 9 out of 10 security training decks have you so focused on data theft that you forget the single most disruptive property to lose is the one nobody is allowed to use. Today, Objective 1.2 Fundamental Security Concepts. The CIA Triad, AAA, Zero Trust, mantraps, honeypots, and the model that explains why every news headline this year was a breach of one of 3 properties. The CIA Triad is the model: confidentiality, integrity, availability. 3 properties. Every control in cybersecurity exists to protect at least one of them. When you see a breach in the news, your first reflex on the exam should be, which leg of the triad got kicked? Confidentiality is privacy. Only the right people can read the data. Integrity is correctness. The data hasn't been tampered with. Availability is access. The system is up when someone authorized needs it. Lose any one of these and you're on the front page of KCREPS. The exam will quiz you on this triad more than any other framework in Domain 1. Read every scenario through the CIA lens first. Confidentiality controls keep the wrong eyes off your data. Encryption is the heavyweight champion. AES, RSA, TLS. If the data leaks but it's encrypted, the leak is meaningless. Access controls are next. RBAC, least privilege. Then data classification, labeling data public, internal, confidential, restricted so people know what to treat as nuclear. MFA backstops the whole thing because most confidentiality breaches start with stolen credentials. The 2015 OPM breach exposed 21 million federal background investigation records. Confidentiality gone. Every cleared employee in the US government had their security clearance file read by a foreign intelligence service. That is what a confidentiality failure looks like at scale. The data wasn't destroyed, wasn't modified. It was simply read by the wrong people. That's the precise definition. Integrity is the one most people skip in their head, and it's the one that scares senior engineers the most. Integrity is the property that says the data has not been tampered with, the bank balance is correct, the patient's drug allergy list is accurate, the software update I just installed is the one the vendor signed, not one a man in the middle swapped on the way down. Integrity controls, hashing, digital signatures, file integrity monitoring like Tripwire, version control. Hashing is the workhorse. You hash the file, you hash it again later. If the digest match, it hasn't changed. SHA-256 is the current default. MD5 and SHA-1 are broken. They have collision attacks. Do not use them for security. The SolarWinds attack from 2020 was an integrity failure. The Orion update was tampered with at the build server, signed with a legitimate certificate, and shipped to 18,000 customers. The signature was valid. The integrity of the build pipeline was not. That nuance is the difference between passing this exam and passing the audit. Availability is the one that gets ignored until ransomware shows up. Availability is the authorized user can get to the data when they need it. Controls, redundancy, backups, clustering, load balancing, UPS, disaster recovery plans, business continuity plans, anything that says if one thing dies, another thing takes over. Redundancy is duplicate components, power supplies, network paths. Backups are regular copies, tested restoration. Clustering is multiple servers acting as one with automatic failover. Load balancing distributes traffic so no single server gets overwhelmed. UPS keeps you running through a power outage long enough for the generator to spin up. The question that catches people: availability is violated by DOS attacks, ransomware, hardware failure, and a backhoe taking out a fiber line. It is not just hackers. The exam will hand you a scenario about a power outage and ask which leg of the triad failed. The answer is availability. Don't overthink it. Now, non-repudiation. Big word, simple idea. Non-repudiation means you cannot deny doing the thing. You signed the contract. You cannot later say it wasn't you. The way we get non-repudiation in the digital world is the digital signature. Sign with your private key. The signature only validates with your public key. If it validates, only you could have signed it. Audit logs add to it, PKI underneath it, timestamps reinforce it. Video surveillance is non-repudiation in the physical world. You were on camera, you can't claim you weren't there. Key thing to remember, non-repudiation is a property, not a single control. You get it by combining authentication, integrity, and logging. And the exam keyword, if a question asks, how do we prove this user did this thing? The answer involves digital signatures. AAA, authentication, authorization, accounting. 3 steps, 3 different questions. Authentication asks, who are you? Authorization asks, what are you allowed to do? Accounting asks, what did you do? 3 completely separate functions, and on a real network, often 3 different systems. Radios handles AAA for network access. TACACS Plus separates them more strictly and is favored for Cisco device administration. The exam will absolutely give you a scenario and ask which leg of AAA is involved. If it's a login prompt, that's authentication. If it's a permission denied error, that's authorization. If it's the audit log entry, that's accounting. 3 reflexes. Drill them. Authentication factor. There are 4, and let me rank them. Something you know, something you have, something you are, somewhere you are, something you know is passwords, PINs, security questions. Weakest factor. Phishable, brute forceable. Written on the back of a sticky note. Something you have is a smart card, a hardware token, an OTP app, the phone in your pocket. Stronger because the attacker has to physically get the thing. Something you are is biometrics, fingerprint, face, retina, voice. Strong because it's physically you, but biometrics have a problem. If your fingerprint database leaks, you cannot rotate your fingerprint. Somewhere you are is location-based, IP address, geofencing, GPS coordinates, useful as a second signal, weak on its own. Multi-factor authentication, MFA, is 2 or more different factor types. 2 passwords is not MFA. A password plus a PIN is not MFA. Both are something you know. A password plus your phone is MFA. A password plus a fingerprint is MFA. The keyword, different types. Authorization models, 4 to know, ranked by how often they show up in the enterprise. RBAC is the workhorse. Role-based access control. Permissions assigned to roles, users get roles. Almost every enterprise runs RBAC. ABAC is more granular, attribute-based. Permissions based on user department, time of day, resource classification. Anyone who has ever signed off on a SOC 2 audit at 11 p.m. knows that ABAC is what auditors love and what your IAM team hates implementing. MAC, Mandatory Access Control, is for the government and military. Top secret, secret, confidential labels enforced by the system, no user discretion allowed. DAC, Discretionary Access Control, is what your laptop runs. The owner of the file decides who can read it. Windows file permissions are DAC. The exam will ask you to map a scenario to one of these 4. Government classification, MAC. Standard enterprise role assignments, RBAC. The user shared the file by right-clicking, DAC. Time-based access for contractors, ABAC. Accounting is the 3rd leg of AAA and the most ignored. It logs everything: logins, file access, commands run, network connections. The SIEM aggregates and correlates it. Radios and TACACS Plus also do accounting in their world. The reason accounting matters: without logs, you have no investigation. Anyone who has ever been pulled into an incident at 3 a.m. knows the first question is, what logs do we have? If the answer is none, you're guessing for the next 48 hours. The SIEM is where modern accounting lives. Splunk, Sentinel, Elastic, QRadar. Logs from firewalls, endpoints, identity providers, cloud platforms, all correlated in one place. The accounting leg of AAA is also where compliance lives. PCI DSS, HIPAA, SOX, all require detailed audit trails. Gap analysis is straightforward. Compare your current security posture to the desired state. Identify the gaps. Build a remediation roadmap. The desired state is usually a published framework. NIST CSF ISO 27001 CIS controls HIPAA PCI DSS. The output is a prioritized list of what's missing or insufficient. The process: assess current state, define target state, identify gaps, create the remediation roadmap. The exam loves gap analysis because the question pattern is: your organization has chosen the NIST CSF as its target and currently has no incident response plan. What process identified this gap? The answer is gap analysis. Done. Zero trust. Never trust, always verify. That phrase is the marker. If you see it on the exam, the answer involves zero trust. The traditional model is castle and moat. Once you're inside the perimeter, you're trusted. The problem is, the moment one credential leaks, the attacker is inside. And from there, it's all trust. Zero trust says location means nothing. Every request gets verified every time, regardless of source. 3 principles. Verify explicitly. Authenticate and authorize on every request with all available signals. Use least privilege, including just-in-time and just enough access, so a user only has the permissions they need at the moment they need them. Assume breach. Design as if the attacker is already inside, and minimize the blast radius. The components: microsegmentation, continuous verification, identity-centric security, software-defined perimeter, MFA everywhere. Microsegmentation is the network architecture piece. Divide the network into small zones, limit lateral movement. If the attacker compromises one workload, they cannot pivot to the next. That is the architectural answer to assume breach. Continuous verification means identity and device health are checked constantly, not just at login. Identity is the new perimeter. Strong authentication for every access attempt, no matter where it comes from. Software-defined perimeter, also called SDP, enforces access dynamically based on identity and context, not on what subnet you're sitting in. Physical security. Bollards prevent vehicle ramming attacks. Concrete posts that stop a truck from crashing through your lobby. Fencing defines perimeter. 3 to 4 feet DEETers casual entry, 6 to 7 feet DEETers the determined ones, 8 feet plus barbed wire is serious. Access control vestibule, also called a mantrap, is the double-door airlock that ensures only one person passes at a time. The countermeasure to tailgating. Tailgating is when an unauthorized person follows an authorized person through a secure door without using their own credentials, sometimes called piggybacking. The mantrap closes that gap. Cameras provide detective and deterrent coverage. Pan-tilt-zoom cameras give you wide coverage with the ability to zoom in. Lighting deters threats and supports camera effectiveness. Badge readers handle electronic access. Combine with a PIN, and you've got two-factor in physical form. Locks are still the workhorse. Traditional key, electronic keypad, smart lock. The exam keyword. Bollards specifically protect against vehicles, not general perimeter. Mantraps specifically prevent tailgating. Don't generalize. Security guards add the human layer, deterrent, detective, and sometimes preventive when they intervene. Deception and disruption. Fake targets that lure attackers and gather intel. Honeypot. Single fake vulnerable system. HoneyNet. Network of honeypots simulates an entire fake network for studying more sophisticated attacks. Honeyfile, fake file with an enticing name like passwords.txt that triggers an alert when opened. Honey token, fake credentials, API keys, or data planted in real systems. When the token gets used, you know the system has been compromised. These are detective controls. They don't prevent attacks, they reveal them. They also waste attacker time and provide intelligence on tactics, techniques, and procedures, the TTPs. Breadcrumbs are fake data planted to lead attackers toward the honeypot. Honeypots are legal to operate, but legal considerations apply to what you do with the connecting attackers. Anyone who has run a honeypot in production knows the volume of automated probing on the public internet is staggering. Within 45 minutes of going live, you'll have credential stuffing attempts from a dozen countries. Run a few exam-style scenarios. A ransomware attack encrypts production. Which leg of the CIA Triad is most directly violated? Availability. The authorized users cannot access the data. A nation-state attacker exfiltrates a customer database. Which leg is violated? Confidentiality. A man in the middle modifies a software update in transit. Which leg? Integrity. A user signs a contract with their private key and later denies signing. Which property does the digital signature provide? Non-repudiation. The same user logs in with a password and a hardware token. What kind of authentication is that? MFA. Two different factor types. The user is granted access to the HR folder because they belong to the HR group. Which authorization model? RBAC. The contractor is granted access only between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. from a specific IP. Which model? ABAC. 5 scenarios, 5 reflexes, drill them. Here is what goes into your exam runbook. 1. The CIA Triad. Confidentiality, integrity, availability. Every breach violates at least one. Ransomware violates availability first, sometimes integrity, only sometimes confidentiality. 2. Non-repudiation is achieved primarily through digital signatures. It is a property, not a control. 3. AAA. Authentication asks who, authorization asks what, accounting asks what did you do. 3 steps, often 3 systems. 4. MFA requires 2 different factor types. 2 passwords is not MFA. 5. RBAC runs the enterprise. ABAC runs the audit. MAC runs the military. DAC runs your laptop. 6. Gap analysis compares current state to a chosen framework. NIST, ISO, CIS, HIPAA, PCI. 7. Zero trust. Never trust, always verify. Microsegmentation limits lateral movement. Identity is the new perimeter. 8. Bollards stop vehicles. Mantraps stop tailgating. Don't generalize the physical controls. 9. Honeypot equals one system. Honeynet equals network. Honeyfile equals fake file. Honey token equals fake credential. All detective. 10. Least privilege is a principle of both zero trust and general access control. 11. Hashing equals integrity. Encryption equals confidentiality. Digital signature equals integrity plus authenticity plus non-repudiation. 3 primitives, 3 properties. Memorize the mapping. Next up, Objective 1.3, Change Management, where the political and technical realities of running a real network collide. We're going to talk about why the engineer who pushed a quick fix on a Friday at 4 p.m. cost the company 11% of its customer base by Monday morning, and why the Change Advisory Board exists specifically so that doesn't happen. Bring your appreciation for paperwork. See you there.